Dark Horse has officially announced the next manga to join their deluxe edition hardcover line, and it is something that I have been hoping for a long time. So stay tuned and we'll talk about it. When I woke up this morning, I was not expecting to have one big thing to talk about from Dark Horse, let alone two huge announcements for things that I'm really excited about. So without further ado, let's just jump into it and talk about it. The first thing, of course, is that the next manga to join their deluxe edition hardcover line has been announced. And like I said in the intro, it's something I've been hoping for a while. H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, adapted by Go Tanabe, is officially getting a single volume hardcover release. Now let me go ahead and read off all of the specifics about it, and then I'll give a little bit more information from my perspective. So H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness Deluxe Edition, illustrated by Go Tanabe, translated by Jack Davison, and adapted by Go Tanabe. It will, like the others, be $49.99 with a total of 626 pages. It is collecting both volumes of At the Mountains of Madness. Nominated for the Eisner and Harvey Awards, Go Tanabe's adaptation of the Lovecraft classic is collected in its entirety in Dark Horse's acclaimed deluxe edition manga format, following in the footsteps of Berserk, Hellsing, and Blade of the Immortal, and of course Trigun and Trigun Maximum, which have not yet been released since Trigun was delayed into next year, unfortunately. This deluxe edition features wraparound cover art with soft touch lamination and spot gloss, 100 GSM wood-free paper, 8 pages in full color, a title page in silver ink, and foil gliding on the edges of the book block, and a satin ribbon bookmark. So in that paragraph, they've described what we can expect from the appearance of this volume, and it is going to be largely different from what we've gotten from the previous series in the deluxe edition line. Wraparound cover art, so it's not going to be just a single color like, you know, Berserk black with red letters, Hellsing red with black letters, or Blade of the Immortal gray with black letters, and we don't yet know what Trigun's going to be, but I've been told specifically by someone at Dark Horse that they're trying to do something different with it. But in the moment, what we've seen, the preview image is just yellow with blue text. But anyway, this is going to feature wraparound artwork, which does match the style of the paperbacks. Those had wraparound artwork as well. With soft touch lamination and spot gloss, that means that it's going to be matte for a lot of the cover, but there are going to be spots that are glossy. I'm sure that we've all seen books that have this type of stuff. 100 GSM wood-free paper. I believe that is the same stock that the previous books have had. 8 pages in full color. Title page in silver ink. That's going to look really nice. And then foil gilding on the edges of the book block. So around the outside of the pages, when you have the book closed, it's going to have foil gilding, which I believe will be silver to match with the silver ink and the image that we have of the cover itself, and a satin bookmark, a ribbon bookmark, which is true of all of the releases. Anyway, moving on in their description, in 1931, an expedition team arrives at a campsite in Antarctica to find its crew of men and sled dogs strewn and dead. Some are hideously mangled as if in rage. Some have been dissected in a curious and cold-blooded manner. One man is missing, but a still more horrific sight is the star-shaped mound of snow nearby, for under its 5 points is another mass grave, and what lies there is not remotely human. At the Mountains of Madness is a journey into the core of Lovecraft's mythos, into the deep caverns and even deeper time of the dead continent where the secret history of our planet is preserved. Since it was first published in Astounding Stories during a classic pulp era, At the Mountains of Madness has influenced both horror and science fiction worldwide. And then there's a quote from Junji Ito as well. I love H.P. Lovecraft. It would be great to adapt him as a serialized manga, but I actually saw Go Tanabe create a great adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's stories. Afterwards, I ended up not doing it because I thought I wouldn't be as good as Go's version. Collects H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, Volume 1 and 2. So, that's all the information we have about it, and as I had mentioned, this is something that I have been hoping for. If you saw my video back in like 2019 where I gave my choices for the top 10 manga that I wanted to see get hardcover adaptations, this was on that list. This book was there. Now for me, I said just H.P. Lovecraft by Go Tanabe Deluxe Edition, and it would be the first volume in the line, but what they've done is smarter, I think, because they're adapting this into a single volume, so it's not going to say like volume 1, whatever, which is an easy way to get new readers in there without them thinking like, oh, this is the first, because then the subsequent volumes, any subsequent Tanabe Lovecraft adaptations, don't have to have a volume number on there. It's a really good idea from a business standpoint to do it that way. Now, at first, I was like, oh, well, what about the short stories? Because before they released At the Mountains of Madness in 2019, Dark Horse also released The Hound and Other Tales in 2017, which had The Hound and 2 other short stories. And in my pitch back in 2019, when I made that video, I stated that I wanted to see this volume also include those 3 stories. However, I didn't consider the fact that At the Mountains of Madness would be 600 plus pages, because the volumes of At the Mountains of Madness that we got in English, we got 2 volumes, but in Japan, they were 4 volumes. So we got 2 in 1 volume. So this does collect about the same amount of pages, the same amount of material as other hardcovers in their deluxe edition line do. Now, what happens with The Hound and Other Stories? I would say potentially they could be collected in another H.P. Lovecraft hardcover edition. Likely they would be included alongside Shadow over Innsmouth, which just came out. This one was like a 400-page volume, so collecting those 2 together lengthwise would make sense. And by the way, Shadow over Innsmouth did just come out last month, and it's fantastic. That brings us to the second announcement, another Lovecraft focused announcement. The Call of Cthulhu, adapted by Go Tanabe, has also been announced with a potential release date right now, a current release date of July 31st of next year. Now, I say potential or a current release date because we've seen things get pushed back and delayed a lot. A lot of Dark Horse things get pushed back and delayed, so there is a good chance that that'll get pushed back by a month or 2, if anything. But this is really exciting, not just because I've really loved all of these adaptations, but because we're only waiting like 7-8 months between Innsmouth and Call of Cthulhu, which is great because it was a 4-year break from the end of 2019, when we got the second volume of At the Mountains of Madness, until we got Shadow over Innsmouth, which came out last month in English. So I'm just very happy that we're not waiting 4 years for the next Tanabe Lovecraft adaptation. Now, let me read the press release of about this one. This is from Anime News Network. Dark Horse Comics announced on Thursday that it has licensed Go Tanabe's manga adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu. The company will release the manga in 1 paperback volume with translation by Zach Davison. Dark Horse will release the manga in bookstores July 31st, 2024, and in comic book stores the next day, August 1st, 2024. They describe the story as what links together 2 bands of worshippers, one deep in the Arctic snows, one hidden in the bayous of Louisiana, is more than their shared practice of blood sacrifice. It is the inhuman phrase they both chant. I apologize because I know I'm not going to pronounce this right, but from Louis, Migalunaf, Cthulhu, Ryley, Winanagi, Ftagan. In his house at Ryley, dead Cthulhu waits dreaming. I know I mispronounced that. There's no way. Now these nightmares will disturb the sanity of Francis Thurston, a young man pursuing an investigation into the cult of Cthulhu that leads to the most forsaken spot in the vast Pacific and to Earth's supreme terror, the risen corpse city of Ryley. Mysteries that teeter on the edge of sanity come alive with a complete story in this single volume containing 8 full color pages and a tip-in title page featuring silver ink. So it's also going to be quite a beautiful little release there. Now, this is coming out potentially in the summer, and this is far from being the last of his works. We do have a lot. He has done a lot of other stuff, and I have a list of those as well. So beyond everything that Dark Horse has done thus far, The Hound and Other Tales, At the Mountains of Madness, Shadow over Innsmouth, and the upcoming The Call of Cthulhu, Tanabe has also adapted The Color Out of Space into a single volume, The Haunter of the Dark, also a single volume, The Shadow Out of Time, which was 2 volumes in Japan, but as we've seen from Dark Horse's previous releases, if they do this one, it will probably be a single volume, like Innsmouth. The Outsider, which is another short story, and the Dunwich Horror, which was 3 volumes in Japan. So there's still a decent amount of material of Tanabe's adapting Lovecraft that we don't yet have in English. And one of the big reasons I'm excited that it's only going to be like a 7-8 month break between Innsmouth and Call of Cthulhu is because that means that maybe we can start getting a couple of these releases every year until we've gotten all of them. So that all said, if you're a fan of Dark Horse's Deluxe Edition line, this is a really cool thing to have been announced today unexpectedly. And also it does fall in line, if you've seen a previous video that I made, it does fall in line with something that Carl from Dark Horse had told me at a party that I went to where I got to talk to him after one of the nights of Anime Expo this past summer, where he said that they did have some upcoming releases that were going to join the hardcover line. This was after they had announced Trigun, and he said one of their upcoming releases that they're working on would be a single volume. So this does fall in line with that claim. So this is that single volume release that he was talking about. I personally didn't think that this would be the single volume release because of the fact that I thought they would make it a line of H.P. Lovecraft stuff starting with a volume 1, but hey, whatever. It's cool to know that, like, you know, he told me that, and it did wind up happening. But now, you know, what's next? I know that everyone in the Dark Horse hardcover line wants to see stuff like Lone Wolf and Cub and Gaunt's. Those are the top 2 choices that people voted on whenever I did a poll to see what people wanted to get in this line. And I do have a video that I've been working on for a while where I talk about not just what people voted on, the top 10 popular choices, but my 10 new choices for what should join the line. And now that this has been announced, I'm gonna have to make adjustments to that video. So that said, I'm very excited. If you're excited, let me know down in the comments. I cannot wait for this hardcover to be released. I cannot wait for Call of Cthulhu. And again, I'm hoping that we get some faster Tanabe Lovecraft releases after Call of Cthulhu, because I'd love to get that entire library on my shelves and potentially get those in hardcover editions as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe so you can be notified for all the upcoming manga related videos. I like to talk about upcoming releases and news like this whenever I get the chance. You know, I usually do about 3 to 4 videos a month, so tune in for that stuff. If you're not new here, you know how much I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.